I know I did my best, and that's all I can do.
Yeah,
you know,
best I can do. Yeah, for sure.
Something to live by, because you can control what you need to do every day. You can control the habits. Again, you can't control the exact result.
Yeah.
Welcome to Loans Elevated, the podcast that brings you the latest industry news, expert interviews, and insightful discussions that will help you stay ahead in this dynamic market. I'm your host, Broch Lassig, and I've spent years in the trenches of the mortgage industry, helping individuals and businesses navigate the complex landscape of real estate financing.
I'm your co-host, TJ Heidenreich, and together we'll cover a wide range of topics, from business strategies that skyrocket your success to mindset and motivation that fuel your growth. All right, welcome back to another episode of Loans Elevated. Dude, this is episode number 85. Crazy. We're flying through these, but this week we're talking about mindset and, more importantly, imposter syndrome, which I think we've all gone through it in some way, shape, or form in different parts of our lives. I know I've gone through it multiple times, no matter what I'm doing. It's a weird space of mind to be in, and sometimes it's hard to get out of. And I think the first step is realizing when you're in it. But before we dive into that, what is imposter syndrome? I know you've got some stuff prepared.
Yeah. So, gosh, it's a lot. It's tough to say exactly what it is. And if you've ever felt it, you know, it's not something you can just define to one thing. It's really kind of multiple feelings at once. But the biggest thing is, feeling non-deserving for whatever result it is that you're getting. Any win in your life, personal, work, anything like that, it feels like you didn't earn it. Like you shouldn't be there. Like you got lucky. There's a lot of different feelings you'll feel when you're going through this type of thing. But I was looking at an article, just reading through this on the APA government website. And it actually turns out 82% of people face the feeling at some point of imposter syndrome. So you may have felt it, you just maybe haven't been able to put a name to it. But some feelings in general, increased anxiety, which, gosh, it's probably a thing just for everyone nowadays in the world we live in. But career burnout, less risk taking, just feeling like you can't be successful when taking risk because, again, you don't feel deserving. But this is the biggest one. This is one that resonated with me. Fear of being found out or unmasked, like people knowing that you're incompetent, right? Or incompetent is the term. So unable to replicate
that resonates with
that success. You just got lucky. It was a one-off thing, and if that ever comes up again, people are going to find out that you actually can't repeat that same thing that you were successful at. So it's just mainly boils down to self-doubt. Right. Is really what it is.
That's interesting. I just did a quick Google search and it says imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being a high performing in external objective ways.
Yep. So a lot of high achievers feel it.
Dude, I remember when I felt it earlier in my life too, in like high school days and stuff. But I remember the first time I felt it in my professional career. I was just fresh into loans. I shouldn't say fresh because I was in the business for 6 months to a year. I can't remember the exact timeline, but I was grinding my butt off, like on the phones all day, talking to people, going out to open houses. I mean, meeting a bunch of new referral partners. I felt like I was just pulling back this rubber band, pulling it back. I was working so hard. There was still some stuff I didn't know about, and I'd get questions that I didn't always know the answers to, but rest assured, I would tell them I didn't know the answers, and I would do my best to find out the answers. But I remember my first huge month where I helped a ton of clients, and I closed more loans than I ever closed and made the most money I'd ever made in my life. Like in 1 month more than I'd made the previous year because I was making minimum wage the previous year.
Right. And you felt undeserving. Right?
Yes, exactly. I thought I was going to feel this certain way. Like, if I do this, then I'll feel this way. But I remember I'd closed the loans and I was like, damn, I literally don't feel any different. Like, I'm a fraud. Like, I am not any smarter.
I think I could do that again.
Right, exactly.
Like, I just lucked out that 1 month.
And then the next month starts over. I'm like, shit, I have to do this again.
Here we go. Got to do it again. And it's like, can I actually replicate that? And it's always that feeling. And I mean, if you're in sales, you probably feel it a little bit more than other, I guess, career paths, because it is that monthly reset. Every month you're like, hey, I got to do this again. Can I do this again? And, I think and we'll go into some things that I looked into, and a particular book we read that will help help you overcome the feelings. But yeah, I mean, oftentimes it just comes down to self-doubt and just lack of being able to celebrate your wins, which we're all deserving of any win in any aspect of our life because we're all, I mean, stressing, working away at it. It's just, if you're not tracking, like TJ, I mean, you were doing all the work, but you probably didn't actually take time to reflect on everything that led up to that.
Right. I didn't realize how far
result.
that rubber band was actually pulled back. The tension of that rubber band.
Yeah. And the thing is, we end up just becoming so attached to the result. And something I had just thought of when I was looking into this is divorce the result and marry the habit, or the habits that lead to the result.
Yeah.
Because if you're always if you base your success always on the results, that's most of the time the stuff we can't control, but the habits you can control. And we're kind of already diving into how you can overcome this, and it's not going to be something you fix overnight. I think it's going to be something you always struggle with, but
right. Well, I think too, and before we dive into the book and stuff, I think a lot of it is comparison as well. I mean, I
had that written down.
I mean, like high achievers probably are hanging out with high achievers. I mean, what's the stat? I mean, you end up being like the top 5 people you hang out with. Yep. So naturally you're going to compare yourself to the other high achievers, which also was not good for myself, because it's like, oh, okay, I did good this month, but so-and-so, Ryan's doing really good the next month. I need to catch up and beat him. But doing that, you're never going to be happy. You're going to have imposter syndrome time and time again.
Always.
What you have to do is compare yourself to previous versions of yourself. And that's what what that book, the book that we're talking about is The Gap and the Gain. I just closed my laptop, so we'll in the comments or in the description we'll put a link to it.
Yeah,
really. But if you haven't read it, it's a really great book. It's got a bunch of tactics, exercises, and stories on how to, live in the gain and not the gap.
Right, and celebrate wins. Which one of the biggest things that I've always remembered from listening to the book is writing down your wins and your growth, like actually tracking your progress.
Right.
So, like picking 3 wins a day, and it doesn't have to be this huge win every single day. I mean, it could just be you woke up, you made your bed, you had a good breakfast, and you showed up to work on time. Like, it doesn't have to be something incredible every single day.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to always perform at your absolute best every single day. But as long as you're making those efforts and you're tracking them, that's something that you can refer back to when you start to see some successes from the compounded habits that you were doing leading up to it. And you could be like, you know what, I am deserving of this because I was doing this, this, and this leading up to it every day, day in and day out. And it's going to actually help you, I think, overcome failures is too, because if you're tracking your habits and you've realized you've fallen off the track, such as maybe, you've skipped the gym for 2 weeks and your diet is falling apart and you're gaining weight, you're going to know looking back on it, I haven't been to the gym in 2 weeks. I've skipped out on my diet. That's the reason why I've started to fail on my weight, or
goal.
I guess
whatever you go ahead,
whatever it is, health goal that you have at the time. So
and you bring up a good point. Self-sabotaging goes right in line with this. Like, say if you are tracking your macros and you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to put on muscle, well, you have one bad meal. That doesn't mean the rest of your day should go to crap. Like,
week or month, whatever it is.
You screwed up one time, or maybe that sales call wasn't the best, or maybe whatever the last appointment you'd have didn't go the way you wanted to go. Last conversation with your spouse wasn't the best. Well, learn from it, wipe it, and start on the right course again. Doesn't mean you should completely derail yourself and continue down the wrong path.
Yeah,
which is so
nobody's perfect. It's just a matter of not giving up. I think as long as you don't ever give up, you're not a failure. And as long as you're trying, that should be enough for you to reflect back on and know that you're not an imposter. Like you actually are deserving of wherever you're at in life, because you're actually working towards that.
For sure.
Some other aspects in the book, let's see. So tracking your growth success from prior years. I mean, we track, if we're talking just business related, we track our numbers and everything like crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, it's easier for us when we are having successes or slower weeks, like we can reflect back on prior weeks, tracking our activity in the business. It's like, okay, well,
Ryan and I specifically, we've got this chart. It's called the goals versus actual chart, where in our business, we track our number of funded units for the month and the number of leads we've taken and the number of applications, the number of applicants that have actually applied for a mortgage. And it's cool to see because sometimes when I feel like I'm not having the best month, I go back just a couple of years ago when we were in like the refinance boom. It's like, oh, wow, I feel like I'm not doing that well. I'm meeting the same amount of leads, still taking the same amount of applications, still funding sometimes even more than I was back in that refinance boom. And there's no refinance to go around right now. So that means I'm putting out more effort and getting more market share and still making the same amount of money, which I think is what you have to do rather than comparing myself to the number one originator who's
been in the business for 30 years.
Right, exactly.
Has an insane amount of connections. It's
exactly.
like you're not comparing apples to apples at that point.
Yep.
Compare yourself to yourself from years prior.
Exactly.
Really if you're going to compare anyone.
Exactly. Or even your mental headspace. Like I remember also in the early days where like, oh, if only I could do this much. Like I was like, it seemed like it was a far off distance dream.
Yep.
Now I'm there. But I feel like oftentimes high producers or just high geared individuals, before they even reach that goal, it's not good enough. That target's always moving.
The goalpost is moving. That's what they talk about in the book. Is like we have these goals that we set, and every time we get close to it, the goalpost gets moved.
Yep.
We're never getting to that point where we can actually sit and celebrate
right.
our wins
exactly.
because the win is never achieved because we're always moving it on to the next one.
Exactly. And in the same breath, it's okay to celebrate because I feel like people don't want to celebrate because they don't want to take their eye off the prize. It's okay to celebrate, but then realize, okay, once the celebration's done, back on the grind.
Right.
We'll start over again.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we talked about habits. I think that's the biggest thing. Tracking your habits, knowing what's gotten you to your success is going to help you overcome this feeling. And again, I don't think you're going to completely eliminate it, but you can correct it a lot quicker instead of falling into the anxiety and depression cycles or career burnout cycles that a lot of people go through.
Dude, one thing too, I think when you're going through this headspace, you've got to have a strong support system. Find someone that is in your life or have multiple people. Like I know I can go to my wife if I'm struggling in the headspace, and it happens every so often, or I can go to my homies like here at the office, go to Ryan and be like, hey, dude, I'm struggling this week. Like I'm not feeling this good. Like I've had all these deals closed and I feel like I got to start over because of going through the roller coaster. And then also when I'm in the midst of my business, you can also whip my butt in shape and be like, dude, this is make sure you're doing X next to make sure we don't have that roller coaster business. So you don't feel this way or so you don't have the imposter syndrome.
Again, it's oftentimes we attach ourselves to the result and we forget the habits. You're not doing the habits. That's the reason why you're not getting the result you want.
Exactly.
So again, it's just disassociate yourself from the result and completely attach to the habits that you need to do to get, optimize yourself for the results you're looking for.
Yeah. How would you say, sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here. How would you say you learned that? Was there something that happened to you? Because you've brought that up multiple times of being attached to the habits, not the result. Did you get to a certain place that you were like, oh, I obtained this thing and I did this thing and didn't feel the way I wanted to feel? Yeah.
Well, I think it's just, for me, it's nothing happens really overnight.
Yeah.
And when you're always chasing the result, it seems so far out versus if you just focus on particular habits. Like I'll just say my business, for example, it was always like, gosh, when can I help my next client? Like when can I get to my next closing? And it's such a bad mindset to get into because then every day feels longer. Every paycheck or whatever it is feels like not enough. But if you know what you need to be doing every day, you can just show up and do what you need to do. And Broch had told me to print out a quote. I know I did my best and that's all I can do.
Yeah.
Best
I can do. Yeah, for sure.
Something to live by because you can control what you need to do every day. You can control the habits. Again, you can't control the exact result.
Yeah.
So I just went through that really in my business, also health as well. Like, you feel like you go to the gym, you're like, okay, I've had a good week. Why haven't I lost weight? Oh, it's because I'm only attached to the scale. I'm only looking at the scale. I'm not looking at the fact that every day I show up to the gym, my body's getting healthier.
Yeah. And your mind.
And my mind. Like there's so many other small wins that you can take away from just showing up every day besides focusing on the big result that everyone focuses on, which is the scale or the aesthetic look. Like, my arms are big enough, whatever. I mean, all the shallow,
because also you're comparing yourself. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think when this really hit home for me was, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I lived away from my wife for multiple years while she was down in college. We were both down in college together, but my business was 3 to 4 hours away. So I moved 3 to 4 hours away and was only seeing her on the weekends for multiple years at a time. And I'd fly down or drive down on the weekends and vice versa. So I was living for the weekends at a time, but I was also grinding during this time because when she was going to graduate, we had the dream home lined up we were going to buy. I had just a couple of things that were lined up. And in my head, I thought that as soon as that was accomplished, that I was going to feel some certain way. And then when it all happened, it all came to fruition. I had the cool car I wanted. I got all the stuff I wanted, which I thought was going to make me feel better, and the dream house. And the next day I woke up and I was like, damn, I don't feel any different. I'm the same person. Well, but then I realized throughout that process, I was actually having fun in the process of it, like the excitement leading up to it, like the grind in doing it. And that's
finding fun in the habits.
Exactly. The complete paradigm shift I had after that has transformed my life and my business. It's like, okay, I have fun in the grind of doing it and the process of getting better.
Well, and I think the results, when you're always thinking about the result too, it's actually, you're being selfish, really.
Exactly.
Like you're in such a selfish mindset versus
you're not looking out to help others.
Like if every day you're showing up, and the habits for us in our work is like take care of our clients to the absolute best ability we possibly can.
And that's the huge
and focus on everyone else but us. The result comes. Like you don't need to chase the result. It will just come because you're focusing on the habits and the right things.
For sure.
So it's crazy. This is actually fun to talk about because it's like almost like therapeutic.
Oh, for sure.
I know we all
go through it, and we can all reflect back on it. But if you guys, I mean, to summarize, if you guys are going through this, have a couple exercises that you can fall back on. A couple,
Yeah. Well, there's 7 from this website.
Oh, cool.
I was going to share this hopefully at the end here.
Yeah, let's do it.
7 ways to overcome imposter feelings that you can implement immediately. Learn the facts, to me, without reading through the entire segment on this. Know the facts, like track the data, know what you did to get there, know what you did to get the result. If you know that, it's going to be difficult to feel like you're undeserving. Okay. So know the facts, share your feelings just like what we're doing right now, or I mean, with friends, family, whoever it is, like talk about how you're feeling, because most of the time you're your biggest critic. If you talk to somebody else, my wife, for example, raving fan, I go home and feel like a failure. She's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Look at yourself a year ago,
For real. Yeah.
So leaning on peers, celebrating your success is number 3. So this is a big one, which I very rarely ever do myself. Yeah. I mean, it's like you get it. It's like, all right, on to the next.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right.
Check it off.
Right. Like actually celebrate it. Don't dwell on it, but take a moment, celebrate it, to go out to dinner, do whatever it is. Like make it a thing, celebrate it.
Ed Milet kind of talks about that too. He's like, dude, it's okay to celebrate. Go buy that watch. Go.
Right.
You've earned it. Go to that fancy vacation you've wanted to do, that fancy restaurant. It's okay. Now, you don't need to do that every day, but when you've earned it, do it.
Well, because the reality is you're not guaranteed tomorrow. We all feel like we are, but the thing is you're not. So take some time to celebrate and actually enjoy your life. Let go of perfectionism. This is a huge one too. Biggest critic. I mean, you can sit and analyze everything you ever do, any sentence you type, any
for sure.
video we shoot,
every word you say on the
consultation.
phone.
You can pick yourself apart.
Just this week, we're revamping our client consultation. We want to make sure it's absolutely perfect. And it's like, dude, if we stumble on a few topics that we talk about, that's okay.
Cool, we're human. Like everyone else is too.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Yep.
So let go of perfectionism is not a thing. It's not real. Cultivate self-compassion. So, I mean, to me, that just sounds like be patient with yourself, be compassionate towards yourself, understand, you can't be perfect. Number 6, let's see, share your failures, actually talk about them. Don't internalize them. That's something I do as well. And probably most everyone else does too. Don't internalize your failures, talk about them, bring it up to another peer, say, this is what I did wrong. Like, what do you think I could have done better?
Right.
To actually talk about them, get them out. And then number 7, this is probably the biggest, because this is how you'll be able to move on, accept it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's true.
like accept the failure, accept whatever it is.
The sooner you accept it, the sooner you can flush it from your mind and move on to the next.
And that goes for the win too.
Mm-hmm.
Like accept the win.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Cool.
Sweet, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We like to do mindset at least once a month. So if there's something else you want us to talk about in mindset and our experiences, please let us know, DM us, or put it in the comments. We would love to chat about it, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for tuning in. For more industry insights, follow us on all platforms at Loans Elevated.
And to get in touch with our team, call or text 801-713-4000 or visit loanselevated.com.